Dear Cancer, have you ever felt the very ground beneath you begin to shift? Even if you don't yet have the words for it? It's not a sound, not exactly an event, just an invisible but unmistakable current. As if the walls of the safe home you've always protected have suddenly become unfamiliar. As if the shell you've so painstakingly built over the years is showing a tiny crack that only your soul can see. This is not an illusion. It is the very first sign of something greater. A journey you don't need to chase because it is already making its way to you. The universe, after all these silent years of watching you nurture the world, is gently rearranging your life, not to test you, but to set you free. Soon, 3 things will happen. They may not come as surprises, but they will stir you, as if they've touched memories carried deep within your soul across lifetimes. 2 farewells, 1 meeting. They won't arise all at once, but they will arrive in a way you cannot ignore, because you will know this is no coincidence. This is a sacred rite, calling you out of an old cycle, a cycle that once gave you shelter, but has now become a cage made of memories. The universe knows you are a nurturing soul, so it won't force you forward with storms. It will simply begin removing what no longer fits. The responsibilities you've long called fine but have slowly worn you down. The relationships you kept out of compassion but lost yourself in while doing so. The universe won't shout. It will whisper in your dreams, through an old song playing at the right moment, through that strange emptiness you feel while standing in the middle of a place you once called home. Because you are shifting, not in location, but in vibration. A new realm awaits, one safer, more authentic, warmer. But it requires you to let go of what's heavy, even if that heaviness has become familiar. You may not fully understand at first, but your soul will. And when that knowing arrives, you will find yourself standing between the old world and the new. No one will urge you to choose, but you'll know. If you don't step forward, you'll remain a faded version of yourself. So be still, watch closely. The people who are leaving, the doors that are quietly closing, and don't be quick to grieve, because truly, the universe is making room, clearing space for something new to enter. And that newness begins with a farewell, not to another person, but to a place your soul no longer belongs to. That is when the first goodbye draws near. Cancer, there are places that no longer hurt you, but they don't let you live either. We stay, not out of love, but out of fear that if we leave, someone else might break. But what about you? Who is listening to the quiet scratch in your heart each time you pretend to be okay? You've grown used to building walls, to reading the unspoken in others' eyes, to hiding your emotions as though they were a flaw, to staying in safe rooms just because you once called them home. But your soul has not adjusted. It still whispers in the nights when sleep won't come. It makes you feel lonely in crowds filled with familiar faces. It cracks your heart, not to wound you further, but to let the light get in, because deep down, you already know that relationship, that place, that role is no longer yours. You stayed out of kindness, but sometimes staying too long is how we disappear. This farewell will not be loud. It may come in the form of a conversation that goes unanswered, a moment you realize you have nothing left to give, or a day when you suddenly no longer have the strength to hold it all together. No one will scream leave, but your soul will know. Know with certainty that if you stay, you'll slowly stop being yourself. And that is the deepest ache. Not the ending, but the fact that you keep living inside something that's already long gone. Not that someone walked away, but that you walked away from yourself. So, if one morning you wake and find you can no longer step into that room again, if in a moment of twilight the sunset brings tears to your eyes and you don't know why, don't fight it. Don't try to make it make sense. Let your soul speak, because that first goodbye was the moment you finally dared to tell yourself, I am no longer someone who stays just because I once did. And when you choose to walk away from the place that once forced you to shrink, you'll realize not all familiarity is peace. Some familiarity is pain, disguised by the veil of safety. Then, from the place you just left, a space will open, not to abandon, but to receive something else. Something that asks you to no longer carry the emotions of others, to no longer pretend you're strong, to no longer make yourself smaller to fit into someone's heart. And from that very space, something deeper will begin to approach. Not loudly, but clearly, like a signal, like a knowing that you're about to touch a part of your soul you once forgot. Dear Cancer, sometimes the one you most need to say goodbye to isn't someone out there. It's the version of you that you became just to keep others comfortable. You know that version, don't you? The one who smiled softly even as a storm raged inside. The one who was always a shelter for others, but had no home for themselves. The one who built strong walls, believing that if they were strong enough to protect everyone, someone might finally stay. You were not wrong for doing that. That was your soul's way of protecting itself. By becoming the caretaker, by shouldering the world just to preserve a single thread of connection. But now, that connection no longer nourishes you, it's draining you. This goodbye has no clear address. It's not a house, it's not a person, it's a part of you. The one you've held on to for too long, only because it once helped you feel needed. But real love never asks you to be the sole protector. It doesn't require apologies for deep emotions. It doesn't shame you for sensing things others don't yet have names for. The version you are about to release is the one who always doubted her own intuition. The one who questioned whether her devotion was just foolishness. The one who believed she was too sensitive, too nostalgic. But no, you are not too anything. You have simply been living in a world that hasn't yet learned how to honor what is tender and deep. So now you are being called into a ceremony. No bells, no chants, only you standing before yourself and speaking the words you've waited lifetimes to hear. I give myself permission to stop carrying what isn't mine. You don't need to be a shelter for someone else's anxiety. You don't need to be tough just to exist. You no longer need to hide your softness, because you are the ocean, the very source of life. You are the one who can walk through darkness and still carry the light of the moon. From the moment you let go of the part of your soul that always had to carry everything, you will no longer move through life as a protector, but as an awakened soul, returning to your true language. And when you begin to walk like that, life will stop speaking to you through pain. It will begin speaking through confirmation. And that confirmation may not come from within you, but from someone closer than you think, who is already on their way. There will be a moment, no announcement, no background music, no stage lights, but you'll feel it with every fiber of your being, as if your soul just heard something ancient and yet brand new. Someone is coming, not to be sheltered by you, but to offer you a shelter to finally let down your guard. They won't need many words, and you won't need to explain a thing. Just one look and a silence deep enough will be enough for you to know you no longer have to walk this road alone. They may enter your life like an invitation you almost declined, an unexpected conversation on a day when your heart had gone quiet. No grand signs, but something unmistakable. You'll feel them, not with your eyes, but with your energy. You'll recognize them the way a soul knows the feeling of home. And in that seemingly simple meeting, something will shift. You will say things you thought were buried forever. You will laugh with ease. You will cry, not from sorrow, but because you finally feel safe. They may not become your lover. They may be a friend, a teacher, a stranger, who passes through like the wind, but they will arrive as a home for your soul, reflecting back the care you forgot to give yourself. They will not give you anything except the sacred recognition. You are not wrong. You are not too sensitive. You are not lost in the past. You are exactly where you're meant to be. And sometimes, that's all it takes for you to keep going, to lift your head and walk forward, not with fragile hope, but with a trust that is rooted and whole. Because trust is not made of courage alone. It's born of reflection. And someone is walking in now to reflect you with a love that does not judge. From that moment on, your world will no longer be quiet in the old way. It will grow deeper, like a river that has finally found its way to the sea. And in that very stillness, another question begins to rise. It's no longer who will come, but rather, are you truly ready to open your heart when something good finally knocks? Dear Cancer, even if that person has already arrived, even if the light has already touched you, there will still be moments when you want to retreat into your shell. Not because you don't need love, not because you don't believe in miracles, but because you once trusted the wrong person, and that pain, though long asleep, left a thin trace of salt behind, ready to sting when real love shows up. You'll find yourself wondering, is this real? Why is this happening to me? How can they see me when I haven't even fully seen myself? Your mind will try to rebuild the old walls. It'll whisper reminders like, be careful. It's too good to be true. I've been tricked by this feeling before. But Cancer, you don't live by logic. You are a soul made of water, flowing toward what has no name. You sense the truth with intuition, not taught, but always known. And in the very moment you feel the urge to turn away, that is when you must ask yourself another question. Am I protecting myself, or am I rejecting the very home I once prayed for? Pause. Take a deep breath. Place your hand over your heart. Can you feel it? Beating, slow but clear, not out of fear, but out of emotion. Because the deepest part of you knows this is real. Not perfect, but real. You've given so much. You've understood the pain of others so deeply that sometimes you forgot you too deserve to be held. But true healing is not only sheltering others, it's allowing yourself to be sheltered. So if something good comes knocking on your heart today, don't panic, don't doubt it, don't tell yourself you don't deserve it. Just receive it with a gentle whisper. Thank you. I allow it. Because love doesn't ask if you qualify. It only asks that you don't lock your heart when the miracle begins to knock. And within that warmth, the most beautiful part won't be the gift you receive. It will be the moment you finally let yourself receive it. Because the Cancer soul did not come here to hide. You came to feel, to love, to create a world that only you can build with the tenderness of your heart. Dear Cancer, there's something few people have ever told you. Healing is not just when the wound closes. It's when you begin to shine in a way that some people can no longer bear your presence. And you've done nothing wrong. It's simply that you're no longer shrinking to fit the old energy. You no longer pretend to be moody, just so others feel comfortable. You no longer live as someone who only gives and never receives. You are changing frequencies, from silent endurance to standing in your truth, from protective strength to gentle strength, from longing for a home to being a light that is a home. And you'll begin to notice, softly but clearly, that some people no longer smile at you the same way, that some rooms no longer hold space for you, that some relationships begin to fade, not because anyone is wrong, but because you stopped shrinking yourself to keep them. Your new light, though not yet blinding, is bright enough to reveal the distance between souls no longer in harmony. And that may sadden you, because Cancer always longs for connection. But beloved, their leaving is not a loss. It's a cleansing. No one has abandoned you. They've only stepped away from a version of you that no longer exists. And when you refuse to go back just to keep the familiar alive, you are honoring yourself, because in truth, rebirth is not about finding new people. It's about returning to your true self, the part buried under the dust of kindness that was taken for granted. You are coming back, not to the world, but to your own soul. And that return will change everything, not with noise, not with applause, but simply with the knowing that loneliness is sometimes just the stepping stone before you walk into a whole new family where you never again need to hide your feelings. And you will see, right within that stillness, a signal is beginning to rise, not from the outside, but from within you, like a new calling. And if you listen closely enough, you'll recognize you've been waiting for this moment for a very long time. Dear Cancer, it's time to lift your head and look back at the journey you've just walked, not with eyes of regret, but with the quiet, breathtaking awe of a soul finally set free. Because you have just let go of two things that had been imprisoning you for years without anyone knowing. A home that became a prison, and a role of protector that forced you to suppress your own feelings. And then a soul arrived, not to change you, but to affirm you, exactly as you are. No need to pretend to be strong. No need to stifle your innate softness just to be seen. Everything you once felt so deeply, everything your spirit sensed so intensely that others called too much, is now the sacred gift you bring to this world. Because you were never here to be liked. You came here to create love. And that love, sometimes damp with tears, sometimes wrapped in silence, has never stopped healing. This is not an ending. This is the opening of a fated gate where you no longer live in the past, but begin shaping reality with the divine energy that is truly yours. You no longer ask, how do I gain their approval? Instead, you begin to wonder, how do I stop hiding this light? The universe has waited so long for this. Waited for the day you'd release what you once believed was normal. Waited for the day you'd stop bending to fit the world. Waited for the day you would return to the home within your own soul. And now, with the chains fallen, with the question, was I wrong, replaced by, what can I offer through this light? You step into a new chapter, not to begin again, but to live fully. And living fully, for Cancer, was never just about living for yourself. It is living like the moon, sometimes full, sometimes new, but always there, gentle and luminous. And from that light, others will find themselves drawn, not by any effort you make to shine, but simply because you allow yourself to be real, deep, and true. Thank you for listening with your whole heart. If you've made it here with me, then surely your soul is truly shifting. I wish for you, a Cancer who is tender but never weak, to be brave enough to let go of all that no longer belongs, and gentle enough to receive the miracles now finding their way to you. You are not alone, and you deserve a life that is wholly, beautifully your own.